Okay, let's dive into this. Picture, if you will, a 1941 battlefield where the incoming fire you're facing isn't just, standard artillery shells. Instead, we're talking about absolute rivers of fire being unleashed. Welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most terrifying, yet, let's be honest, utterly fascinating pieces of military hardware from the Second World War. We are looking squarely at a machine that just kind of emerged from the shadows, a weapon that fundamentally shifted the psychological reality of the battlefield. We are unveiling the Soviet OT-34.
Section 1. A Weapon of Terror.
So, setting the stage, the year is 1941, and the theater of war is already incredibly brutal. And right in the middle of this total chaos, the Soviets unveil an instrument of pure, unadulterated fear. Now, you and I both know the standard dread a tank brings to the front line, right? But what's scarier than a tank? Well, the answer is a machine that doesn't just punch holes in your defenses, but completely, totally engulfs them.
90 meters. Just think about that for a second. The OT-34 was actually capable of projecting a continuous stream of burning liquid nearly the entire length of a football field. It's wild to think about. An enemy combatant could be standing almost 100 yards away, totally thinking they were safely out of the blast radius of a close-quarters weapon, only to be suddenly swallowed by a massive localized Inferno. It was the sheer scale and reach of this projection that really made the whispers and rumors spread like wildfire across the front lines.
Section 2. The perfect disguise. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it transitions us right into the intense psychological warfare aspect of the tank's design.
Because, see, the true genius of the OT-34 was completely psychological. A weapon you can see coming is one thing, right? You can brace for it. But a weapon that hides in plain sight? That's something entirely different. To the naked eye, the standard T-34 and the OT-34 were completely identical. The Soviets specifically designed it so enemy troops absolutely could not tell the difference between a standard tank and a flamethrower tank until it was just way too late. Imagine the intense paranoia this inflicted on the infantry. Every single time a Soviet tank rolled over the horizon, they had to be wondering, okay, is that a standard tank that might fire a shell, or is that the steel beast that's about to erupt in a river of fire? That invisible threat, it multiplied the effectiveness of the weapon 100-fold, no question.
Section 3. Devastating battlefield tactics.
Because having a powerful weapon is really only half the equation, isn't it? The other half is how it's actually applied in the heat of combat. And it turns out the secret to this devastation wasn't just the tank's hardware, it was the ammunition. As rumors spread, a lot of curiosity grew about the specific concoction the Soviets were using. Basically, they filled these tanks with a thickened fuel. We aren't just talking about standard gasoline that flashes and burns up quickly. This was a sticky, napalm-like substance. This meant the fire clung to surfaces, it burned longer, and it created this inescapable deadly inferno. So when German infantry attempted to take cover and hide out inside those heavily fortified bunkers, this thickened fuel allowed the OT-34s to turn that very protective cover into a deadly trap. The liquid would just pour right in, stick to everything, and ignite the whole shebang.
And because of this incredibly localized horror, the tanks became so overwhelmingly effective that entire enemy units were known to just surrender at the mere sight of them. Just the silhouette of the tank, knowing what it could be, was enough to break their will to fight. But here's the bigger twist. The Soviets didn't strictly limit this machine to direct combat, and this brilliantly illustrates the duality of the machine. They actually deployed them with surprising utility to clear minefields. They literally used those 90-meter streams of fire to melt enemy explosives, safely clearing paths for the rest of their forces. So it was a brutally destructive weapon, absolutely, but also a remarkably precise tactical tool.
Section 4. The enduring mystery. So, the crucial point is, with a weapon this powerful and this versatile, preserving its technology became absolutely paramount for the Soviets. High Command had to look at this and ask, well, what happens if a crew is forced to retreat? They simply could not allow this technology to fall into enemy hands. So they developed a really strict sabotage protocol. First step, abandon the vehicle. Second, and definitely most importantly, deliberately rig the tank to explode. This wasn't some random accident of war. This was a calculated, final act of defiance to prevent capture. Some OT-34s were purposefully destroyed by their own retreating crews just to ensure that the secrets of that thickened fuel and the disguised projection systems remained completely out of enemy reach.
And honestly, all of that extreme paranoia, the camouflage, the sabotage, it worked flawlessly. Because here's the final reveal. After the war concluded, when captured German engineers were interrogated, they openly admitted this. We had no idea how many flamethrower tanks existed. Think about that. Despite fighting against them for years, despite the terrifying rumors, despite the immense casualties they suffered from the fire, the enemy was kept completely in the dark. The Soviets successfully kept the true number of these identical-looking, fire-breathing tanks a closely guarded secret for the entire duration of the conflict. That's just wild.
Which kind of leaves us with this final lingering thought. If an entire fleet of identical 90-meter range flamethrower tanks could be kept as a closely guarded secret right under the noses of the enemy, well, what other devastating secrets are still buried in the ashes of history? It really makes you wonder just how much of the past we truly understand and how much is still out there hiding in plain sight. Keep analyzing, keep questioning, and thanks for joining me for this explainer.